Hey everyone, Internet Vicious Book Reader here. Today I want to talk about Boulder by Eva Baltasar. I've read a couple of both the Booker Prize and International Booker Prize from 2023 at this point, but they've all been very underwhelming or mostly underwhelming. At this point, I've mostly forgotten about the story from even the winner of the International Booker Prize from last year, Time Shelter. If I am not misremembering it, it is about a guy who's going through a project that at first is just making room that represent the era they're in to treat memory affecting disease like Alzheimer and dementia, but besides some cool concept, the story don't make much sense as it goes on. Then from the main Booker Prize Award, I've read basically all of their shortlisted books. Westerland, Study of Obedience, If I Survive You, The Bee Sting, all of these are very underwhelming. Beside the winner, which is Prophetland, that is about dystopian Ireland, none of them are really all that good. So I stopped short of going through the rest of the International Booker Prize list since I'm not having that much fun going through the pages as I've read those short lists. But I'm glad that I decided to give this book a shot because I think this is one of the best books I read this year. I think it's even better than Prophetland, the winner of the Booker Prize. The story and the storytelling is so good. It's one of those books that is written in a way that is so quotable. The book is 104 pages and I think about 90 pages or more of that are quotable. I will go through some of them during this video because I wanted to showcase how good they are. But let's start the story. Our main character is a cook in a small restaurant in Quelton, Chiloé. She's not going to call herself a chef since besides being decent at using the knife to carve the food, everything else is just going through the motion of cooking. Let's just say she's not going to make any art out of her cooking anytime soon. She cannot for the life of her keep any of her job for a long time, so she mostly lives by going from restaurant to restaurant until finally in the last restaurant she works in, her boss gave her the reason why she's always doing this. It's because she's not much of a team player, and cooking in a big restaurant requires you to not only be a decent cook but also the skill to some good old teamwork. Her solution for this, does she learn any social skill? No, she moved to a small restaurant in a smaller place because she figured that if I can handle the kitchen alone, then I don't need to worry about not having good teamwork. So logically, she moved to a ship. Thankfully, unlike inlands where people need to cooperate, where she used to have to hitchhike her way to work every day, in the sea, people often mind their own business, maybe because they know that there's not much space to avoid each other in a ship where they need to be trapped together for a period of time. The crew doesn't love or hate each other, and for the first time in her life, our main character really felt what it feels like to have true freedom. The only thing missing is, unlike in Barcelona, it's hard to find someone to spend the night with, so she had to satisfy herself at night when she feels the need for somebody. But other than that, she loved the job and the freedom of being at the sea. In fact, she loved her personal freedom so much she don't even ask to get paid for the job as the ship's cook, which is maybe why she got the job in the first place. But she felt more free that way that when she started getting salary, she felt a sense of loss from making it into a responsibility that she have to do. But the pay did come at a good time. She needs them to buy some necessities, tampon, tobacco, socks, etc. She did all this in one of their regular docking spots in Chaitan, and while she's in there, she usually stays at a lodging in a home cafe, where the owner turns her house into a cafe that sells coffee and cake. She also has some free room. It's there that she met Samsa, and her eyes was immediately pulled into her. Even without all the loneliness that she had got used to, something about Samsa attracted her like no one ever was, and Samsa quickly became aware of this. And their meeting quickly became physical, while she was talking in Chaitam, exchanging number and promising to meet again, an attachment like no others. They made up every time our main character land, and it was from Samsa that they finally got a name for our main character, Boulder, the title of the book, and also rocks that often are just there on the surface of the sea, sinking any ship that did not see them on time. They were not great despite Boulder always away with her ship and Samsa working for a corporate, that is until Samsa had an offer to work in a larger corporate somewhere far away. And Boulder cannot let go of her, and the only thing that she can think of still having Samsa in her life is killing herself. So that's what Boulder did. She chose to kill a part of herself and move with Samsa from Chiloé in Chile all the way to Reykjavik in Iceland. While Samsa is busy working her way up corporate ladder, Boulder is trying to find the freedom that has defined her for her entire life in a city that feels like everyone is part of a city. Boulder tried to find some work in bar and restaurant to find herself washing dishes instead of cooking. She then decided to open a food truck, selling the empanadas that she learned while working in the ship. Both Boulder and Samsa seems to drift apart here, and their relationship nowadays is mostly just physical, going through the motion of having sex just for the act. And it was in this moment that Samsa decided that she wanted a kid together with Boulder. Eva Baltasar, from what I've looked up, is a poet from Catalan, Barcelona, and the original language used in the book is Catalan, which I only ever heard of while going through this book. I can read this only thanks to Julia Sanchez's amazing job at translating them to English. You can really tell that this is a story written by a poet because there's a cadence to the story, the way the story is told that lures you into the story. It's slow, methodical, and very effective. There are a lot of sex scenes in the short book, but unlike what I've seen from something like CKD, where they get in the way of the story because most of them felt like they're just meaningless fan service, the sex scenes here always serve a purpose to the story and the character, and depending on where they are mentally, things change. The feeling involved in the act changes, and because of that, they add so much flavor to the storytelling. It's not just fan service that is getting in the way of the story, since they add more depth to the character. And it informs us so much of why the characters do what they do at the end of the story. They're also legitimately very sexy, so if you want to read something steamy, there's that. Relationship is a series of compromise with each other as much as it is a series of loving each other, but sometimes two people can be so different from each other that each compromise means one of them is losing what makes them themselves more and more. It's one of the best fiction that shows that in relationship, it doesn't matter that you had such a good physical compatibility because sex is only one piece of the whole puzzle that is a relationship. It's an important piece, but it is still just one part of the whole. And getting back to the story, Boulder doesn't want a kid, but Boulder also doesn't want to lose what she had with Samsa, so she agreed to having a baby. They went to a fertility clinic and they helped Sansa got pregnant, and as her pregnancy continues and Sansa started to change, Boulder started to pull inside herself more and more. Which is not a good thing. The story is very clear that Boulder is an unlikable character, and the story never tried to portray her otherwise. She tried to be good and to do good to Samsa, but Boulder had a tendency to be selfish and immature despite nearing 40, and she romanticizes alcohol and judges things she don't like harshly. She's a mess of a contradiction that want to be alone and don't want to be alone, and she is walking in insecurities because of those things. Now with Samsa being pregnant, and sex that used to be an escape from her insecurities is getting further and further from her, she is being pulled to the best side of her she never knew before, and the worst part of her that she grew to despise more and more. And she now had a choice. Do she dock herself with Samsa, or do she left with another ship, ruining all the good that she has experienced so far, or does she wait until Joe's choice was taken from her? As I mentioned at the start of the video, it's a short story with only 104 pages, but every word are used very purposely so that it can tell a story that goes on for a few years or even decades and goes through at least 3 different countries without the pacing feels like it's being rushed ahead. And it is so well written that it felt like the story is made of a series of quotes. Let me just quote a few more of those before I end the video. It's what I came here looking for, True Zero. I was tired of inventing resumes, of having to pretend life had a structure, as though there were a mental rod inside me, keeping me upright and steady. The destination always kills the journey, and if you have to reduce life to a story, it can only be a bad one. I'd gone through life fixated on an intangible conviction, tied down by the handful of things that kept me from becoming penniless, an outcast. I needed to face the emptiness, an emptiness I had dreamed of so often I turned it into a mess, a center of gravity to hold on to when life fell to pieces around me. I come from nothing, polluted, and yearn for windswept lands. Only language can help you belong somewhere and make sure you don't lose your way. It's a nourishing underlayer that seems to live in the mind, migrate down to the mouth, and spoken, melt on the lips. At the same time, language is everywhere, occupying the body father's lung cells, pushing them to unimaginable places. It urges you on and turns your stomach, confuses your animal instincts, makes you human. No emotion is more indulgent than feeling that you are intensely human. Though it can also be the most tyrannical, you are responsible for every word, and no statement is innocent. I give this a 4.5. What do you think? Let me know if I missed anything, so leave your thoughts in the comment below and subscribe to the channel. That's about it. See ya.